Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Titan Joker, or according to this box, the Joker Titan. Am I missing something? I played this game, and I'm fairly familiar with it. I mean, it's been a while, but I'm almost positive it was not called the Joker Titan, because it is Joker, who becomes a Titan after getting the goo. So, isn't it Titan Joker? That's what everyone else has always called it as far as I know, but this is calling it the Joker Titan. And I wouldn't really care about that, except it seems like they might not know what they're making a figure of based on the name and based on the way it looks. So there's some stuff we need to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the top of his head just about 27.5 centimeters, not counting the mohawk, and that's going to be about, let's just say, 10 3/4 inches. And okay, let's just do question of the day. Which of the Arkham games is your favorite? You can go by gameplay or you can go by aesthetic. For me, gameplay was best overall on Origins, though Arkham Knight was fun in a lot of ways. Too much repetition, too much Batmobile, too much weird stuff, but I did like a lot of the mechanics in that. Now, as far as aesthetic goes, Arkham Knight definitely was awesome. I think I might go Arkham City, though, just to be more classic. Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, I would love to be proved wrong, because I'm not sure, like 100% sure, but I did a little bit of preliminary Googling to make sure I'm not crazy, and this doesn't look anything like he looked in the game. When Joker got the goo and turned into a Titan, he was bulky as heck, like super bulky, super chonk. His legs were relatively small compared to the rest of his body, and this figure is lanky and slender and has a really long, goofy neck, and it just looks nothing like it did in the game, and I'll put some screenshots up on there for you. And you guys can let me know, maybe there's another thing I'm not familiar with, but this, based on what I think this is, and I have no reason to think I'm wrong at this point, it's not even close. Like, even the detail work, the pants don't look right at all. This is not how it looked in the game. The whole build of the figure is totally wrong. The DC, what was it, DC Direct, I want to say, DC Collectibles, they had one not that long ago. I mean, it was now, I guess, a while back, but it looks infinitely better than this one basically in every way. This is weird looking. So, aesthetically speaking, it looks nothing like the source material, unless I'm wrong, in which case this review is going to be very wrong, but I don't think that's the case. I'm going to assume I'm right. It looks nothing like the source material at all, so that's a bad thing. Now, the sculpt itself is not too bad, except for the fact that he's really hunkered over and has like a goofy long neck, and since that wouldn't look good no matter what, and it certainly isn't accurate, that's terrible. Like, look how long and goofy his neck is. Like, he's hunched over, but his neck is still super long, his head sticks out at the end. He looks like a chicken. This guy almost looks like a chicken running around. It's very strange. So that doesn't help the aesthetic. Now, the paint job, it's not very good. There's just kind of like red paint smeared all around. It's not in any real spots. Even where there are like clear like sores and opened areas, even down here, there's just red paint somewhere in the vicinity. Same thing here. Same thing everywhere. Why does this guy have little fur thingies stuck all over him? That's not even cat hair. I don't know what this is. He came that way out of the package. The red paint is just weird. It's poorly applied. And then this wash or whatever it is that's going on with this guy, it's hit or miss. It's all over the place. He's got dark spots and light spots, and none of it's consistent. And it's shiny. He's very shiny, by the way. That's weird. The paintwork for the pants and the sculpt work, really, I guess those are supposed to be torn bits that run across, but it looks just like... it doesn't look like torn pants. I don't know what's going on with this figure. It is a disaster in basically every way. Another thing I want to point out, just a little thing, like I'm not even counting the inconsistent plastic on the feet since I already mentioned it, but look at his toes, his big toes, his index toes. I don't think they're called that. Why are they sculpted with a big flat spot underneath them? It's like that on both sides. Like, it's not just a squashed toe meat. His toe pad isn't squashed, he just has giant flat spots. It's weird. The paint job on the back is really bad. This is not seamless at all. Like, these are supposed to be spines popping out of his skin, but the way they made it a separate piece to make it soft plastic, it doesn't fit. It's not keyed in at all. So that looks like trash all the way along here. It looks horrible. The green paint doesn't match up, and there's a giant seam going all the way around. And there's all kinds of little spots on him that should have been painted red that aren't. We have green paint going all the way up to the head, but then nothing. This figure is, this has got to be one of the worst figures I've ever looked at. It's laughably bad, and I was hoping it was gonna be really cool. And like in the photos, the way they have it posed, it looks like it might be kind of close to the source material. And I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. Nope. And then it's bad too. And then just other weird things. Like we'll talk about this in the articulation, but the way the arms are done, they're not straight. Like see how this curves up into the armpit and then the shoulders offset from the elbow? That's weird. What is that? Whose arms are shaped like that? Nobody's. The shoulders are shaped super weird. Like there's a whole big lump right here, but then the back head of the deltoid is stretched and smushed this way, and then the shoulder hinge is all the way over here, which is not centered on the shoulder itself. The whole thing's freaking weird. So, oh, let's look at the face. I forgot. The face, which I thought was going to be at least a good part. He's got one side eye and one normal eye, so he's with his right eye looking that way, and this eye is looking straight at us. But the mouth is painted pretty well. I'll give him that. But that's about it. This thing is terrible. This thing is terrible. So aesthetically speaking, I am going to give it a 2 out of 10. There is some sculpt work on there, but just kinda. Alright, so now as far as accessories go, we do get this nifty collector card, which shows the figure in really dark shadows, which makes it look a lot better because you can't see it. And even then, it doesn't even come close to looking like the figure we got. So, like, the paints are not the same at all. Not at all. Oh, you know what? I didn't mention it. They did paint the veins on there relatively nicely, even though they're not really sculpted too much. They are painted on there, so that does lend itself toward that number 2 that it got. And then, okay, so the other accessory is the black plastic display stand of awesomeness, which would be great because this guy has trouble standing. Now the reason he has trouble standing is not that his feet aren't big enough. So if you put a display stand on him, the foot actually sticks out past the display stand. So that's not really that helpful. But the problem this guy has, well, you know what? Let's transition. We'll give him a 2 out of 10 for accessories. Let's move on to the articulation. His ankles are weak. So weak. They have like almost no resistance in the ratchets. So he can't stand unless you balance him almost perfectly. You can have this thing on there as much as you want. It won't make a difference because he's tall and top heavy and has weak ankles. But let's talk about the articulation. The head is on a couple of ball pegs, and it actually moves around really nicely because ball pegs are amazing. They do, well, they're not amazing, it's very basic. They are amazingly effective though. Maybe that's not even true. They work well. His head moves nicely, it rotates, it leans. That's all very good. Oh, I wanted to talk about, well, I guess I can talk about this in the articulation. This guy's figure's such a mess. The sculpt of the whole torso makes him look like he's been punched in the stomach or something. But articulation-wise, he can lean forward a little bit, and that's like his natural position, but look what happens on his back. It's just a white stripe. But he can't lean back. He can't lean back at all, so he's just stuck in that pose. You get some rotation out of it, but just barely. No real leaning side to side. Out of the abdominal joint, you can lean him a little bit down there. It'll rotate down there, so that's good. And then forward and back, it leans forward on that joint pretty well, so that's good. This guy can actually lean forward really nicely using that bottom joint. And it leans back a little bit, but not much. So this hunch is going to stay here. Most of the posing happens in this joint, which is definitely not cool. Now for the shoulders, we do have this big cap, so you would think the arms can move around a lot. They have almost no range in any direction on that ball peg. They do have the hinge here, which it works nicely, but it is offset, so it makes the arm swing backwards when it swings out to the side, so that's a little bit weird. You do get your full rotation. No bicep swivel, of course, because why would you want that? It's only a giant figure with perfect amounts of room to pose him, to add articulation, but nope, we don't have that. Double jointed elbow is horrendously ugly. That looks like he's posing, right? Look at that elbow. Have you guys seen an elbow like that before? Ugh. Why is it so chunky and gappy? It's weird. Good range, but weird. Now for the wrists, we have a rotation and a hinge, that's fine. Now for the hands, I should have mentioned this in the aesthetic, but I'll mention it now. The thumbs. He's posed as if he's just standing there with his arms straight down. And that looks okay. But like you can't have him grab anything because he doesn't have like a claw hand, and his thumb is down like this, like in a weird neutral-ish pose. It's not like that on both sides. So you can't even have him holding a Batman up. Like, here's Batman. Let me do a quick comparison for you guys since we're going to bring Batman into it. Stand up straight for a second. Limp ankles. So there's Batman size-wise. That's pretty cool. Like, that's the height. But if he wants to hold Batman up, like, you can't even get him to wrap his hand around the head or anything, really, because of the way the hand is. It just looks goofy. It's ridiculous. Why would you sculpt it that way? Give him a claw hand so it looked like a claw hand or a gripping hand. But we don't have that, so that's weird. We already covered the torso. For the hips, they're very soft side to side. They are those weird ratchet joints again, and they are way too loose for this guy. They can't hold up the weight. Very floppy. They go forward and back nicely because the diaper's fairly flexible. That's as far back as they go, and they go forward pretty much all the way, but they're a little bit too loose that way too. There is a nice enough thigh swivel, but it only goes in. It doesn't go out, so that kind of sucks. No cheeks on this guy. Sorry, guys. They let us down. Like, he has a little bit, but not much. Double jointed knees do work pretty well. They aren't as ugly as the elbows, so that's pretty good. And then for the ankles, like I said, they're super loose. They are ball hinges, but they are ridiculously loose for a figure this big and heavy. They're functional, of course, but they are so loose that it's not going to hold him. And then his toe joint is fairly sturdy, but it's in the wrong part of his foot. It's way too far back. Like, the toes would bend here. This is a good example since he's barefoot. The toes would bend here. Not all the way back here. That's half his damn foot. This guy is ridiculously bad. Like, why spend the money on the tooling for the molds and then release such a subpar turd? I don't get it. Articulation-wise, 5 out of 10. It's passable, but not good. And now it's time for the final verdict. We've gone on long enough for this figure. I don't want to talk about it or look at it anymore. Final verdict on this monstrosity is going to be 3 out of 10. It's nowhere near worth buying. It's not good, really, in any way. It's not absolutely trash in a few ways, but is that enough? I don't think so. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this figure in the comment section below. I do pin comments now, so there will be a pinned comment from one of you guys in every video. So if you have something funny or clever to say, now's your chance. I might pin it. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you feel like sharing for either reason, you are encouraged to do so. That would be good for me, good for you, good for YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.